Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new NVIDIA daily update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over NVIDIA. Let's go over what has happened to this stock, what we can expect moving forward, and all of that good stuff. So ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed, please don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice and I am not a financial advisor. But again, if you do enjoy my technical analysis, my thoughts on charts, updates, etc., but you want them as the market is trading throughout the actual trading day itself, well, I do have a YouTube membership section. That link is down below for just $3 a month, where I do share my thoughts, post updates, technical analysis, options flow, etc. Every single day the market is open as the market is trading. So definitely check it out if you're interested. But that link is below for just $3 a month. Gives you access to mainly Tesla stock updates, plus sometimes other stocks, or $5 a month gives you access to everything in the first tier, plus NVIDIA if you're interested. But jumping into it, NVIDIA closing the day up about almost 4% on the day, closing at almost $103 per share, which compared to the market is going to be arguably a slight underperformance, but you can argue it's not by too much, right? Not by too much. So what does this actually mean moving forward for NVIDIA, right? Well, I mentioned, let's go to the 1 hour chart first. Actually, no, let's go to the daily. So the daily, right? Most of the market's popping up today. And, if you look at across the board, the market is essentially on the daily chart reverting back to the mean, right? Where, it was pretty oversold, well below the mean. Sometimes it gets, it can get more oversold, obviously, but, the point is that whenever it gets too far from the mean, it usually reverts, right? Got a little bit high here, bam. A little bit low, bam. Very low here, bam. Very low here, bam. And now got a little bit low again, bam, right? It's just another reversion to the mean. Look at any stock, look at Tesla stock, look at AMD stock. They're all, you can see right pretty much on that mean reversion. So that's number one. But let's go to the 1 hour chart. 1 hour chart, pretty much, arguably my favorite time frame. Let's talk about this here. So what do we have happening in the 1 hour chart and what can we expect moving forward? Well, the 1 hour chart's not looking too bad. Honestly, it's not looking too bad. Why is it not looking too bad? Overall, now, granted, short term, we'll see what happens. Trump is supposed to speak later today. We'll see how it goes. But short term, I will admit, I do think there's a bit more pain ahead. I think we're going to go down a little bit further to about $100 per share, give or take. 101, 100, 99, something like that. I don't know exactly the number, but around there, right? Why? Because on the 1 hour chart, we are, like I just showed you in the daily, a little bit too far away from the mean reversion, the market bias. You can see it's all the way down here, pretty much at $100 per share. Wouldn't surprise me if we come back down and touch it, maybe even tomorrow. But the way I look at it is, as long as we hold about $100 per share, like give or take a few dollars, of course, of buffer room. So you can say like 97 to 100 or something like that, right? You always want to give it a bit of a buffer, ideally as close to 100 as possible, not too far below it. I think there's potential. I actually think there's potential for NVIDIA here. I think there's a chance that it actually potentially could get a nice pump going into next week. Why is that? Well, first and foremost, like I mentioned, we had that recent, fresh higher high over here in the 1 hour time frame from this high here, which is good, right? Revert back to the mean, got the reversion on the Fibonacci's essentially, right into that 628 Fibonacci. Pretty nice so far. Can't complain. Pretty textbook so far. So far, nice. And then we broke above 100, which I mentioned. I do want to break above 100. I want 100 to snap for the bulls. So that's all happening. That's all good news. And that's all playing out pretty nicely so far. And the way I'll be looking at it moving forward is essentially, again, as long as we pretty much hold about 100, I actually lean bullish on NVIDIA. I actually do lean bullish as long as this vicinity holds pretty much the rest of this week, especially if we come down to it ideally, and then it holds, and then we rocket up from there, because we could be setting up a small little inverted bullish head and shoulders like this, right? So it'll be something like this, right? You see you have like a move like this, right? Then you have the shoulder, you have the head, then you have the right shoulder, pretty much right around here. And then it looks something like this. In other words, pretty much the way I look at it is this. As long as it holds about 100-ish, give or take, then it holds it, it bounces, and also then breaks 105 to 106. That should trigger this. That should trigger this inverted bullish head and shoulders pattern. And then you can make an argument if you kind of take that measured move roughly. I believe it's something along the lines of this, if I'm not mistaken, should bring it right into that next supply zone, essentially, right? So essentially, as long as that holds and as long as it breaks 105, 106, I think the next region it'll go up to is going to be this kind of 111 to as high as 114's massive, massive supply region, where NVIDIA has, of course, seen many issues in the past with severe rejections each and every single time. But it is starting to make a fresh higher low off of this initial or recent rejection that it did back here. So that's a good sign overall. So in other words, to make it even more simple, right? The way I'm looking at it, 100-ish holds, I remain bullish. Break above 105, 106, even more bullish to about 111 to 114, supply zone. However, break above 114 to 111 to 114, even better. And that's where we can really start talking about NVIDIA finally making an actual meaningful move, potentially even to all-time highs, right? It'll take time. I'm not saying this will all happen next week. This could take a few weeks for sure. But, that becomes an actual topic of conversation. If we can essentially ultimately break above this level, that's like the first major step, in my opinion, for a bullish continuation and just really a bullish move to the upside overall, right? And that's the way I'll be looking at NVIDIA moving forward, right? And again, looking at the daily charts, kind of the same principle, right? Also, this is that region I just talked about, right? If this does take a bit of time, right? And let's say this does happen until like early next month, let's just say something like that, right? Let's say we don't do too much, maybe, the rest of this month, we get the, little move down, then we get that move up next week to 114, maybe come back down like this again, and then essentially sometime early next month, within the first or 2 weeks, first week or two of the next month, is when we truly potentially get that bullish breakout and really break above that kind of 111 114 region. That's going to really start to line up with this overall downtrend line, and that 111 to 114 region will be even more important to break. But if it does actually happen, will be even more impactful for a potential continuation run and finally escaping this very large descending channel the stock has been in for quite some time. So that's going to be the main things I'll be looking for. And if this can finally break above and happen, that's very bullish. I think NVIDIA should resume an actual overall uptrend as opposed to this overall downtrend that has very obviously been in for quite some time now, several months, right? So those are the main aspects I'll be looking for, essentially moving into the next, the next couple of days, like I mentioned in the 1 hour, the next couple of weeks even, right? And that's kind of the overall perspective I have on that, personally speaking. Now, if things change, I'll, of course, naturally update to everyone, but that's what I have right now. Also, 114 to 111. Why is that important? Because that also is where that weekly resistance is sitting as well. So again, this 111 to 114 region, in my opinion, is a very, very crucial region to even have an attempt to break out of this massive descending channel on the daily, or even arguably this massive wedge, if you will, on the weekly time frame. I think it'll happen. I personally think it will happen at some point. It could take a bit of time, of course, but I do believe it will happen. I do remain optimistic about it, but it needs to happen, for actual continuation, right? For actual confirmation that, it does need to happen at some point, which, again, I don't know how long it'll take. I'm not a fortune teller. I can't tell you. It could happen maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, maybe next month, maybe the end of the next month. I don't know how long it'll take, but those are the key levels to look for, to break, to really get some nice solid confirmations of a potential actual move meaningfully higher. So that's what I'll be looking for in NVIDIA. I do lean optimistic here, especially as long as we hold that kind of 100 region and each level we break higher. I do obviously will overall in the greater picture lean more and more kind of bullishly optimistic. But yeah, those are the levels to look out for. Those are the levels to break, and those are the things to pay attention to, at least in my opinion. That's what I'll be looking for, at least. So yeah. Let's take a look at options flow. Let's see what happened today with the options flow. Nice little day in the markets today. Nice little put action towards the end of the day coming in. You can see for pretty much next week, actually. So maybe a little bit more pain, but you never know. This doesn't mean it has to happen until next week, right? This could just be bought for next week. Could happen tomorrow or Friday. Same idea. Doesn't really matter. But nonetheless, I wouldn't be surprised to see a bit more pain again in the very, very short term. That wouldn't fully shock me. But nice calls coming in throughout the day over here. You can see some nice puts also coming in. So pretty mixed flow actually for NVIDIA, to be completely honest overall. Because I don't think NVIDIA is fully out of the woods just yet, to be completely honest. But it is setting up a potential to start looking to get out of those woods. Step number one, again, is this 1 hour time frame situation here. Break higher, break above this massive supply zone. And now we can start talking, right? Now we can start discussing actual meaningful moves higher. But yeah, that's all I got for you. So let me know what you think down below. Thank you all so much for watching. See you tomorrow. Peace.